Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have Nekroz Draitron and we're up against pure Neos. I think this is quite literally just pure Neos. So we are going to be going second right here, and let's see what they can muster up. So they start with an e-call, getting search for honest Neos, and then they're going to activate Connector, Summit, and then they're going to use Aquadolphin, pitching stuff, and they don't find anything in my hand, so they take 500. They're going to go into like an Assault, and then they get search for another Neos. They're going to go ahead, dump 3 to summon Expaladin, Sublimation Knight, and then he's going to equip Squeak Knight and then send it back out. He's going to go to Verte Anaconda, by paying 2,000 copies of Neos Fusion to go into a Neos Kluger. So Neos Kluger passes in the greatest thing in the world. We can definitely play out of that. So we're going to start off with some cool stuff. Combine the Draitrons and the Nekroz. So we're going to tribute the Ben 10 for the Alpha, and then we get multiple searches for Divine of the Herald, dumping our Herald of the Arclight to get another search. We activate Prep of Rights to get another search for Colossus, so we can get search for Nekroz Mirror, because why not. We're going to go ahead into a Nekroz of Unicore, and we're going to be popping, and since we use Nitis as material for our Nekroz Unicore, we can pop that Neos Kluger, and then he's going to use its floating effect to go into Neos Wiseman. That doesn't hurt too bad. We're going to activate Bryonac to get search for Trishula, and then we're going to activate a Nekroz Mirror to go into Trishula and do what Trishula does, banishing everything. So we're going to attack for just about lethal, and yep, that was just the first duel. Just shows how consistent the deck is. We have like tons of search cards. Divine of the Herald can just search a card. You have Draitron Ban Alpha, that searches a card. Preparation of Rights searches a card. Ben 10 searches a card. The Field Spell searches a card. A Draitron Nova summons a Draitron, which is good searching it. It's just so consistent, it's kind of insane. So let's go to our next deck now. So for our next replay, we're up against Salamangreat. So let's see how this does. We're gonna start off with the Draitron Nova, which summons a Zeta. We're gonna tribute that for Alpha and get the search for a Trishula, mainly because we want a way to protect our Nekroz of Unicore. We're gonna dump that Arclight for our Unicore, and then we get a search for Ben 10 for next turn because I already have this Gungnir in my hand. We're gonna go into Link Rebo and pass. So he's gonna activate Sand Mining. Don't, just please never do this. Just shotgunning up your Gungnir. Nothing good ever comes out of it. So he's gonna do some Salamangreat stuff. He's dumping Rage, even though his Salamangreat thing will be negated. His Sunlight Wolf. He searches Gift. Let's take a look at his deck. He runs Reckless Greed. He runs Beat Bison. He runs Coyote. This guy has the most epic Salamangreat deck I've ever seen. And he plays Rising Fire. Okay. EDO Pro players. So we're gonna activate the Alpha, just getting rid of the Ben 10 to get search. Ben 10 will trigger, but he uses a Call by Grave on it. We're gonna go ahead activate Zeta, which will tribute the DRA to get search for this thing right here. We're gonna activate Meteorous Draitron, which summons back the DRA. So hopefully I attacked for a decent amount of damage right here. And then we can just use Draitron Nova, getting something. I would have summoned Trishula, but at the time of this replay, I wasn't running the level 9 that I run now, just as a Kaleidoscope target to summon Trishula. So unfortunately I don't have that. So he's gonna get another search. He's gonna activate Will. I do not want that Will to resolve. I'm gonna get rid of that. He's gonna activate Salamangreat Gift to dump Falco and draw 1. Using Falco, he's gonna set back his Rage, and then he's gonna get some more stuff done. He's gonna go ahead, activate Jack Jaguar, sending himself back. Then he goes into Sunlight Wolf, brings back his Spinny, and he should have just gone into another Sunlight Wolf so that his Rage would be online. But no. He decides to just scoop after my Link Rebo resolves. Good game. Good game. So, I mean, what could he have done with the Salamangreat Rage? I don't know, we were going to top deck Fafnir right here, so we could have just done some more Draitron plays. I mean, with Salman Great Rage, if he could have popped 2, he could have just popped like these 2 or something, just because then threats would go, but he knows I have Meteorness Draitron in my hand anyways. Just very poorly played by him. Very poor deck building too. Playing Rising Fire. So let's go to our next duel now. Right here we have our next duel, and we're up against level 8 Turbo ? I swear, people these days have just terrible deck building. So we're gonna start with Draitron Fafnir, gonna search for Nova. Nova will trigger. We're gonna activate Nova, summoning Alpha, and then we'll link off the Alpha so we get in the graveyard, so we can tribute it off for Ben 10. We get search for Unicorn, and Ben 10 gets search for Herald. We're gonna have Kaleidoscope in order to dump Herald right here and get search for Gear so that we can protect our Nekroz. We're gonna go ahead and summon a Diviner so that we get a search for Trishula so that we're protected even more. And in case they out our Unicore, we still have the Don Dragster, but he kaijus me twice in a row, summons a bunch of level 8s, summons Dingirsu, gets rid of my field spell, Yagwe Link Revo, and for some reason he just attacks my thing. So he's gonna activate Advanced draw some cards. Negalagia Aasia's Pass. We're gonna activate Fafnir so we can search for Draitron Nova. We can swap out the Zeta for the Alpha, and then we can go into cards like this Nekroz of Trishula. This forces him to use his Negalagia right here. So we're gonna activate Kaleidoscope. Right here with this Kaleidoscope, I should have taken a mirror because the mirror would have been more useful. But you know, I'm dumb. I didn't take the mirror. I take the mirror later, which we don't have any Nekrozes in our hand, so it's kind of useless. So he kind of just passes. There's no use in giving me that Kaiju. We're gonna activate Prep of Rights in order to get a search, and then we're gonna activate Alpha, which can get a search for a Benton, so we can tribute it off for our Zeta to get a search for another card. I think it was another Kaleidoscope. We're gonna activate Kaleidoscope in order to search something. With that Benton, I meant to search a Diviner of the Heralds, but I misclicked, got Benton. It doesn't matter too much because this would have been an OTK, but of course he had Swift Scarecrow. Swift Scarecrow, you love seeing it, don't you? So he kind of scoops at this point. He can't do much. No matter what he does, I'll OTK him next turn. So those were some very eventful duels, showcasing fabulous deck building. So let's go to the deck profile now. Those were not the greatest show for this deck. The deck is just very consistent and can play through multiple hand traps, and Unicore Pass is pretty powerful in this current format, so do keep an eye out for it. So here's the deck. It's 41 cards. If I were to try to cut it down to 40, I'd say you can take out 1 copy of Delta, but that's just my opinion. I just like keeping it at 41. We start off with 3 copies of Diviner of the Herald. What this does on summon, it can send a fairy from your deck or extra deck. So you send Herald of the Arclight in order to get a search for any of your ritual monsters or ritual spells. So that's your main reason for it. On top of that, it is searchable off your Ben 10. 3 copies of Alpha, just on summon gets your search for a ritual monster. 2 copies of Delta, on summon you can reveal a ritual monster or spell and then get a draw, which is the main reason why I run 2 of it. 3 copies of Zeta, this searches your ritual spells. You could consider this cutting this down to make maybe 2, but we don't have too many searches for the ritual spells. I've cut them down just because we do run 3 Zeta. 1 copy of Meteorness Draitron DRA. This is a Trident on that can OTK. It's a Trident with a 4K body, and it can pop 2 instead of just 1. So a very, very good boss monster on top of that can be targeted with monster effects. 1 copy of Trishula. We usually just use it to protect our Unicore from targeted effects. So that's where Trishula comes in. On top of that, it can also just blow up your opponent's hand and field, so that's very nice. 1 copy of Valkyris. Valkyris is basically just stops an entire battle phase. So that's nice, just more protection for Unicore. 1 copy of your Gungnir. This protects your Unicore from being destroyed. so that's another nice thing. If you're up against an OTK deck, I recommend just using Valkyris instead of the Gungnir. But that's just my opinion because you don't want to take the damage. 2 copies of Bryanak. The only reason why we run 2 is because we have multiple ways to search Bryanak itself, and we don't really need the Bryanak that much because we have other ways to search ritual monsters, so just 2 of him. 3 copies of Benten. You want to see this as often as possible with your Draitrons, just so that you can get the search for Heralds, which translates into another search, which is pretty nice. 3 copies of Unicore. This is kind of your main boss monster as such, just because it's so useful in destroying your opponent's field. 2 copies of Clauseless. Clauseless just searches one of your spells. We have lots of ways to search the spells. Diviner of the Heralds is one. We can search it off Zeta, and we can search them off Clauseless. Those are kind of our main ways. Of course, you can also recur them with cards like Prep of Rites. And you can search Zeta with cards like Draitron Nova, which is kind of a search because you're summoning from the deck. And you can search Nova with your Fafnir, and you can search Fafnir with your Terraforming. Just a lot of searching goes on. 1 copy of Terraforming to get your Fafnir. 3 copies of Prep of Rites to get your monsters. Sometimes if you just want a Trishula, you'll have to search Bryanak first and then do a Trishula or a Valkyris, whatever you need. 3 copies of Draitron Nova. This kind of pseudo searches your Draitrons as it just gets them into the graveyard after linking them off into Linkuriboh. I'm thinking I'm running 2 Linkuriboh, but that's just kind of my thought process right now. 3 copies of well, I've already gotten to Draitron Nova. For ritual spells, we run 1 copy of Mirror, 2 copies of Kaleidoscope, and 1 copy of Cycle. The Mirror and Cycle don't come up too much, but they sometimes do come up, as in I think that first duel right there, Mirror helped me go into a Trishula, so that comes up sometimes. Sometimes you just need to recur a Unicore, you can just use Cycle, and Kaleidoscope is of course the best one, as you can send a copy of Herald of the Arclight for your Unicore, so that you can get a search and a pseudo boss monster. 2 copies of Meteor's Draitron. I'm considering of cutting this down to 1, mainly because you can just recur it infinitely. So I'm going to be cutting that down to 1 for now. 3 copies of Fafnir. Fafnir is basically it searches all your spells. The most important one is Nova, just because it can get you an Alpha or a Zeta depending on your hand, so that you can get maybe your ritual monsters or spells, once again depending on your hand. That's the main deck. For extra deck, you want 1 copy of Natis. Sometimes you send Natis of your Kaleidoscope if you're going second. That comes up. 1 copy of Crocodile. This is what you use as your Kaleidoscope target for Trishula. Once again, this also comes up sometimes. Just summoning Trishula, and then you can banish a lot of stuff. 1 copy of Clearing. Clearing is I guess Clearing is Clearing. It does come up sometimes. The main reason why I run Clearing is because of Diviner of the Herald, where once you send your Herald of the Arclight to the graveyard, it gains 4 levels, so it becomes a level 6 tuner. And if you have another Draitron on the field, you can synchro into Clearing. That comes up sometimes if you're up against like a level 5 base deck. And Dawn Dragster 2 for the same reason. 3 copies of Herald of the Arclight. You definitely need to run 3 because you'll be sending them to the graveyard in a plethora of ways, to Diviner of the Heralds, your Kaleidoscope, and all of that. 1 copy of Crusadia Abramax. This is once again just another nice boss monster. 1 copy of Access Code. This is a very good boss monster, just being able to blow up your opponent's entire field. 1 copy of Appaloosa, the negates never go to waste. 1 copy of Unicorn, Phoenix, and Cerberus, just for spot removal. 1 copy of IP, so that you can make Unicorn on your opponent's turn, and it also just helps your Abramax be indestructible too, so that comes up. And finally, 1 copy of Linkuriboh for the Draitrons. So that's kind of the full deck. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pretty decent deck in testing, just being super duper consistent. And I guess I'll see you next time for my next deck. Do have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.